There's something very special about Death Valley. Hidden deep within this land is a voice that haunts my dreams and beckons my return. I hear it in the ringing of my ears from the absolute silence, and I feel it in the air as the wind whips across the dusty landscape. Death Valley is a land of extremes, home to unforgiving weather, unimaginable scale, and moments of pure frustration mixed with absolute bliss. There's something about this place that's quick to expose my every weakness, yet it pushes me to learn and to grow from the experience. My first visit to Death Valley was over a decade ago, and in that time I've experienced towering dust storms, heavy rain, and even a rare cloud inversion that filled the valley with fog. I take away something new from each trip, another piece of the puzzle that allows me to better understand this beautifully desolate place. In many ways, my trip to Death Valley each year represents a new beginning. It's my first trip of the year, and along with it comes the pressure to find new subjects and to produce the work I'm truly satisfied with. It was Ansel Adams that once said, 12 significant photographs in any one year is a good crop. Producing that many photos feels somewhat insurmountable, but I know they're out there waiting for me somewhere. I just need to find them. Last October on my fall trip to Zion, I created a simple notebook to outline my goals and my objectives for the trip. Included in the notes were specific locations, along with themes of subjects I hoped to find. This proved beneficial and led directly to some of my favorite photos from the trip. I've done the same for this trip as well, and I hope it'll allow me to better maintain focus while in the field. Thanks to my 3 a.m. start, I'll arrive in Death Valley around mid-morning. My plan is to set up camp at Furnace Creek, then spend some time exploring many of the areas I've scouted on satellite imagery. The forecast over the next week calls for mostly blue skies, with very little chance of clouds or rain, so I plan to focus most of my attention on the smaller scenes within the park. In many ways, this is a bit of a relief, since shooting the grand landscapes with large format can be a bit challenging at times. This is a story of my January of 2020 visit to Death Valley National Park. So it is just after 9:30 in the morning, and I'm here in Death Valley. So one of the things that always catches me a little off guard when I come here is just how insanely quiet it is here. There's some airplanes that fly over now and then, but other than that, it just makes your ears ring a little bit. But I already found kind of a cool subject I think might make for a good evening photograph. It's kind of cool little salt creek with some mountains in the background. And there are no clouds in the sky at all right now, but that's just fine because the scene has some pretty strong elements in the foreground and also in the background, so having some blank sky would actually be just fine on that. But I'm picturing a photo kind of as the light is hitting the mountains just before sunset, and then also a blue hour shot, which probably will be the stronger one, but we'll see on that. But I've got a long time to kill between now and then. I still haven't even checked into the campground yet. But I'm just gonna spend some time wandering here, and I'm also building up some ideas based on what I see. There's this really interesting salt crust that looks really cool when it's backlit, so kind of trying to see if I can find something for that, maybe some grasses or something along those lines. But I'm gonna keep wandering here and see what else I can find here in Death Valley. Well, this proved to be a rather successful little scouting hike. Not really a hike, more of a scouting walk. Just getting a feel for the conditions, looking for various elements that catch my eye. And I'll leave the scene that I found a little while ago as a little bit of a mystery for now. I'll hopefully return to it a little bit later today. But I do have a lot of confidence in it that hopefully make for a pretty decent subject. There's actually a little more cloud activity back up the canyon over there right now. I don't know if that's going to amount to anything, but we'll see on that. But now it's time to head back to my truck, head over to grab my campsite, and make some lunch, and then set out again, a little more hiking, a little more scouting, and hopefully come back here again and see about setting my camera up for an evening photo. So I'm hoping that's all going to work out just fine, but you never know in Death Valley. Much of the wildlife in Death Valley is nocturnal, but in many ways so too is the land. This vast landscape, so rich in earthy tone, lies dormant from mid-morning through mid-afternoon. Time stands still as the sun tracks across the enormous sky. It's only as the sun approaches the horizon that the land awakens from the slumber, stretching its arms alongside the shadows that advance across the valley. It's amazing how the time passes so slowly at midday, only for the landscape to transform so dramatically in a matter of minutes. That's why it's important to find your subject well ahead of time, then wait patiently for just the right light. So I made my way to Furnace Creek, and I'm here at the Texas Springs Campground. And this is the same campground where back in 2017, I had a rodent get into the engine compartment of my 4Runner, chew on some wires, and disable my 4Runner. So I've since learned that it's important to pop your hood at night because the top of the engine is a little less attractive of a place for rodents to hide and kind of chew on wires while they're at it. So I'll be doing that tonight. Campsite isn't a heck of a lot here. It's just a place to park. I'm gonna be sleeping in the back of my 4Runner. And even though I know I can come here in the evening and grab a site, I like to get that taken care of ahead of time. It's just kind of nicer when you know for certain where you're going to be sleeping for the night. But I made myself a sandwich, a nice peanut butter and jelly sandwich, some adventure fuel there. And now I think I'm going to head back to where I was a little earlier today and see about maybe setting up a composition on that scene. Hopefully be pretty straightforward, but it's about 11:30 right now, so that gives me time to sit on a composition for a while and explore a little bit. So let's head back down there and see what I could find. So it's going on 1:30, and I have arrived back at the area where I'm really hoping I'll be able to get a photo tonight. And it's still a little early to set up the camera, but if you look all the way up the valley there, you'll see some clouds way back there in the distance. And again, this composition does not require them, doesn't need them, but if they're there, it'd be kind of nice. But I'm getting everything packed up here. I got my backpack right over there. Got all the camera gear in there. So I'm gonna hike out and see if I can get a composition on this scene. Definitely enjoying my time in the shade here. It's not like it's very hot. I mean, the temperature is very mild and even a little chilly in the morning, but once you get out on the salt flats and get all that light reflected up, it gets a little intense at times. So yeah, I'm looking forward to see if I can get a composition on the scene because it's a pretty cool looking scene. So probably head on out there. So it is going on 3 o'clock right now. I've been trying to fine tune this composition for like an hour or two, something like that. And it's proven to be a little bit of a challenge. The subject's great. So we got this cool salt stream here, these earth toned, fluffy salt deposits along the edge, all kinds of interesting tones off in the background. The water itself is kind of a darker area. So you get this really nice contrast of tone and of texture. And my goal is to have a horizontal composition of the scene. But the lower right corner is a little weird because it's a narrower section of the salt stream. You can see right about where my the shadow is for my tripod there. And that looks weird if that's entering from the lower right corner. I'm not typically a huge fan of having subjects enter from the corner. Sometimes it serves as a little bit of a distraction for the rest of the composition. That's what I found is happening here. So I'm trying to make it where the stream is going to enter from the bottom edge of the composition, kind of on the right side, but from the bottom edge. And also I'm trying to find a placement for the camera where it hides the fact that that stream enter is really narrow, then kind of expands out as it goes. So hopefully it'll make it flow a little bit more symmetrically. So that's my goal at least. So we'll see how that works. But if you look in the background, you see some clouds back there, which is pretty nice. Who knows if those will stick around. But I think what I'm going to do is just kind of lock everything down and walk away from the camera for a little while. Maybe listen to a podcast and then come back to it with some fresh eyes. That sometimes helps a little bit there. But I got a couple hours or so till sunset, so hopefully I'll find something that works pretty well. So I went ahead and just kind of walked away from the composition for a little while. I did some other things and came back to it, and I just realized that the 300mm lens just was not the right choice. I needed something a little bit wider. So I pulled out my 240mm lens, which is this tiny little lens. I've been really enjoying that lens lately. And it turns out that lens is just the better focal length for this subject. And at first I was avoiding that lens because I didn't think I had the ability to use grad filters on it. I didn't think I had the adapter to put the leaf filter holder on it. But sure enough, actually I do have that adapter. So that's gonna work out just fine as well. So yeah, 240mm lens, different lens, and being able to just walk away from it and come back with fresh eyes really helped make that decision. So we got some more time to kill before sunset, but yeah, definitely feeling pretty good about this. And now the weight. So that is a film holder with some ProVia 100. I have a 2-stop soft grad in place, and my goal is to expose some film when there's some sunlight hitting the mountain still, foregrounds and shade. Even though I don't think that's gonna be the best light, I think the better light is gonna be after sunset. Maybe the clouds will light up if they're still around. Otherwise kind of a blue hour sort of light. But I definitely get quite anxious right now because, you know, the clock's ticking, sun's dropping. It's actually going to drop behind the mountains here pretty soon. So I should really get over to the camera and get going here. But yeah, I'm going to keep my fingers crossed and really hope that this works out. I wish I could say that was a zen-like experience of watching the light and being ready, but I'm off my game. I gotta say that was frustrating. I just kind of completely forgot how to meter, and things are changing fast. And I exposed 3 sheets of film, but I kind of think I overexposed them. I don't have a good feeling about that. Okay, we're gonna wait until the next window of light, which is gonna be hopefully the clouds will light up. It'll be a more even exposure, which will be a bit easier. But yeah, I didn't enjoy that. I'm really hoping it turns out, but that was kind of nerve-wracking. Well, I went ahead and exposed a sheet of ProVia in this sort of light. The light's getting a little better right now. But this is really the light that I'm hoping to shoot. And the clouds have kind of gone away, so I should expose another sheet here pretty soon. But I gotta say, that was incredibly frustrating. It was making me rethink the whole shoot and film thing, quite honestly, because I know that the light was changing so fast, and I could have shot that on digital, and I hesitated, I froze up, and I don't feel good about that. But we're gonna wait a little bit. We're gonna do another exposure. I got 2 sheets of ProVia left. The light's quite good right now. I swear, like when I was trying to like meter and stuff, I had like this little mini panic attack. It was so incredibly frustrating. I've been doing this for years, but I think it's one of the reasons I don't like shooting the grand landscapes. It's just, it puts so much pressure. All right, we're just gonna relax. I'm gonna wait just a little bit, and then expose another sheet of Pro View when the light is nice and calm now. Less frantic, easier to do. And this is a sort of calm light I like anyways, but all right. We're gonna do this. So I just wrapped up my final exposure of the evening. I actually feel pretty decent about this one. The light right now is very calm, which is a lot easier to work with. And it was a 20-second long exposure on ProVia 100. But I honestly do not know what to think about this evening. I put so much pressure on me when going on these trips and to be productive. And I'm beginning to think that it's not a good thing. And hopefully the photo turns out today, but it does have me seriously wondering if I really should, if film is really where I should be at, because in a controlled situation, it works really well. It's so amazing to work with, and I love the limitations it has, but today, man, when the light was changing, those limitations, I literally just kind of froze up. It would have looked horrible on video. I'm glad I wasn't necessarily filming at the time, but it was real. And I really hope this turns out, but it kind of leaves a bit of a emptiness in me right now where it has me questioning things. But also that's true for Death Valley. Death Valley, it's a harsh place. It can be quite punishing, and there's also, a fair amount of isolation here, but yeah. Looking forward to getting back to camp, getting some dinner. That's a good part. But yeah, this isn't exactly what I wanted on the first day, but hopefully at least the last photo will turn out pretty good. But then get things packed up and head back to camp. It's truly difficult to describe my sense of frustration that evening. The conditions were absolutely perfect, yet I struggled to make some important decisions at a very critical moment. My experience that evening wasn't unique to this trip. It's happened many times through the years in Death Valley, oftentimes quite early in the trip when I have a lot of weight on my shoulders. There's something about this place that leads me to question my every decision, and even my very role as a photographer. Luckily, I know from prior experience that this feeling will pass, and there's something to be learned from this experience. A new skill that'll perhaps help on future trips. The first photo I shot that evening was indeed overexposed, by perhaps a full f-stop. Thankfully, the second and third exposures were better. They're a bit bright, but I have all the detail I need to work with. I determined the exposures on these by spot metering a gray card I placed on the ground. The blue hour exposures are well exposed, but the light isn't as dynamic as the photos earlier in the evening. I'm very grateful for the conditions I experienced that day, and despite my own frustration, it's great that I was able to capture the fleeting light. Thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to sharing the rest of my trip. If you enjoy this ad-free and clickbait-free content and want to help me live my dream, a voluntary contribution of just $24 a year helps keep my gas tank full and my film freezer stocked. For more information on how to support me and my work, please visit the donation section of my website at benhorn.com/donate. I also have prints and my portfolio box set available on my website. You can find a direct link down below in the show notes. Thanks in advance for your support.